Yo, what is going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped back for another OPTC video. In today's video, we're taking a look at the new Memories of the Straw Hat 10th Anniversary Chopper in some PvP and seeing how the INT team rocks with this new edition. And honestly, on paper, when I first read what Chopper does, I was very excited for this particular unit. He seems like a perfect fit for what INT is trying to do right now, and he should just walk his way into the team. So, let's take a look at what he actually does and how valuable he is for either the INT team, the INT Cerebral team, or even just the Cerebral team alike. For myself, I find him just to be a direct replacement of Pudding. Pudding was great on the INT Cerebral team because one, she's a Cerebral character. Two, she could give a lot of cooldowns to your INT units, being like a 33%, I believe, on a 22-second cooldown, which was very, very nice. However, the downside I would find to Pudding is that she would trigger a little bit late or wouldn't trigger at the right times to actually get my cooldowns popping off exactly where I need them to be. Now, that's not to say that it would work very well when it worked. However, there was times where it just sort of didn't work exactly how I needed it to, and then the character was kind of the character lost a lot of value on the team. Pudding's passive wasn't that great, but with what Chopper's doing, he's actually very, very strong with giving cooldowns as well as rolling back the enemy special. Now, with the combination of characters like Om against Sai, Bonnie against anyone that has a high CD, and then using Chopper alike, you can do some really, really nice stuff when taking on both Sai and Free Spirit units. So that's what we're doing. In today's video, we're taking on some Free Spirit builds. We're going to go into the challenge fight of the Sai variation, because there's a lot of Free Spirit and Striker teams over there, and sort of see how the dynamic of INT looks against Sai at the moment. Now, Chopper in Rumble, he buffs INT allies for level 6, I believe. Buffs INT defense for level 5, sorry, and HP level 5. And then he boosts Cerebral allies attack and speed level 5 as well. Now, the combination of doing class and colors can be a little bit annoying, but like I said, the INT team has kind of morphed into this very cerebrally based build with the additions of stuff like S-Hawk and Luffy just sort of as ridiculously powerful PvP units. But with the core of like Bonnie, Atlas, now this Chopper, you can do some really, really nice stuff when you mix INT and Cerebral together and move away from that sort of driven powerhouse meta that it once was. As a special on a 28-second cooldown, so really not that high of a cooldown, not like a great cooldown timer, but 28 seconds is definitely much better than anything over 30. You increase your attack of all your INT allies by level 6. He does level 6 defense as well. He reduces special cooldown of 3 Cerebral allies by 30%, and then delays enemies' cooldowns of Free Spirit or Strikers by 30%. Now, this 30% rollback will affect 3 random Free Spirit or Striker-based enemies. Unfortunately, it's not like Bonnie where it will target the highest CD. It's not like Nami Karina, which will definitely target the highest CD. However, being able to just roll back 30% is very, very nice, as well as giving 30% to your team. With the team that I put together against majority of Free Spirit builds, having Bonnie in the front, lowering defense, Atlas with all her damage, and then utilizing Chopper, I have 3 Cerebral units that are getting this 30% cooldown. They're always going to give the cooldown to either Bonnie, Atlas, and Chopper himself. He can actually give that cooldown to himself, which is actually very valuable because then you can get his special back. You can use Bonnie to continuously roll back specials, and then with a cycle of Bonnie and Chopper, you can just continuously roll back specials and just basically force the enemy into not doing anything. The downside to Chopper when you compare him to Pudding, though, is he's not buffing S-Hawk and Luffy. Now, arguably, S-Hawk and Luffy are the 2 biggest damage dealers on the team, and ideally you'd want them to get their cooldowns, right? Well, as I mentioned, if they already have their cooldowns maxed and Pudding goes off or anything like that, stereotypically, the value in that doesn't exist anyway. S-Hawk is stereotypically on such a fast cooldown anyway that that Pudding effect would never really kick in and get the most value out of what S-Hawk is doing. And Luffy is just so slow that stereotypically, when Pudding would go, it wouldn't benefit Luffy in the exact right way. So I found that Chopper just works really nicely on this particular team over Pudding. But look, if you didn't start with Chopper, like most people didn't, and I believe most people shouldn't, then you could, like I said, you can just slide Pudding in on this team, and she's sort of like the next best thing when it comes to these types of builds. But Chopper's defensive buff, Chopper's attack buff for INT allies is really, really good, and all of this will go to S-Hawk and Luffy as well. they don't really need that extra level 5 attack and speed from the passive, when S-Hawk's buffing himself being the slasher booster, and Luffy just hits so hard anyway, and you're mainly using him for that forced out mechanic, that it really doesn't matter that they're not getting this level 5 attack, nor do they get that cooldowns, because Chopper is also making them quite bulky, so they can survive hits and sort of stay alive for a very long time. So Chopper's very, very good. He's an excellent addition to the INT cerebral-based team. He can also completely evade special bind, which is awesome, because then you can just continuously roll back specials, as I mentioned. And the fact that you can see something like this, bring Bonnie forward to then use Bonnie to roll back more specials, just works really nicely. One downside I do find to Chopper is that he randomly selects 3 units for the special rollback. That's what I dislike the most. I really wish it was the 3 characters that had the most CD. That way you're prioritizing units that would be triggering. But obviously with bad RNG, you could easily get a special rollback on a character that doesn't have their special ready. That's like, honestly, like the tiniest bit. And a character that does have their special that does a lot of damage, say for example like Sanji, it just is going to absolutely wipe your team. So that's the big deficit I do find to Chopper when you're using him. But he does work very, very nicely in the front lines. Most of the time when using INT though, you're going to be looking at taking on a Psy-based team, or building out your INT team to sort of nerf Psy. And Psy and INT are sort of in that weird kind of parallel of Psy beats INT, but INT beats Psy, and then Psy beats INT, but INT beats Psy. So right now, we're kind of in a very 50-50 state. We're going up against the Jin fight because there's a lot of Free Spirit and Strikers, and I do want to make note that this team, it's not foolproof. Like, I brought Konus in the front and Om in the front to help out with some Psy nerfing, and then use Bonnie and S-Hulk on the bench. But this team, it's a 50-50. Like, you're in a very weird spot right now where Psy just unintentionally nerfs a lot of very good characters, being slashers, drivers, and powerhouse characters, and like the good INT units like S-Hawk and Luffy just get absolutely cucked by this. Even though he is a Psy nerfer, he gets cucked by Enel, and Konus gets absolutely cucked by anyone that's dealing with Free Spirit. It's a weird dynamic right now, but we did manage to get the chocolates. We did manage to get the win. With this particular team, I actually did a couple runs. Unfortunately, this is the one where Chopper dies, but look, it is what it is, right? So Chopper's like a really nice addition to the INT team to take on these types of builds. The problem is, like I said, it's not foolproof. And Wano Law is about to get a 6+, so like this whole run could be completely different if this Wano Law was hitting for 3,500 damage rather than 2,200, which is a massive difference. But nevertheless, like showcasing Chopper over here was actually really, really good. He obviously had the help of some RNG with Konus and rolling back specials with Om and whatnot too. But utilizing Bonnie and S-Hawk on the bench works great, and still having that sort of cerebrally based team with Atlas and with Om, it works very, very nicely. And like I said, having that bulkiness to just sort of keep Luffy alive right on that B's Digger HP means that we can do something like that. Have to deal with this monster bench and we'll be absolutely fine. So let me know down below what you guys think is better. Are you guys still Team Psy, or are you now on board with Team INT? Psy was obviously crushing INT for the longest time, but INT was once upon a time the greatest team in the world. So we're now back in a world where 50-50 is kind of rocking and rolling. But let me know down below what side you guys are on. Let me know what you guys think of Chopper as well down in the comment section below. While you're down there, belt the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff. Most importantly, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one.